There is a stillness that precedes all movement. Before the hand grips the staff, before the foot finds its angle on the earth, there is a moment of pure waiting, a silence that the Japanese call ma. It is in this interval, this breathing space between intention and action, that the jo begins. The jo, a staff of plain wood, roughly 4 feet in length, neither sword nor spear, and yet something of both. In the hands of one who has walked its way with patience and with presence, it becomes an extension not merely of the arm, but of the mind itself. As the great Zen scholar D.T. Suzuki wrote of the sword, so too we may speak of the jo. It is not the weapon that matters, but the spirit that moves through it. In the pages of Jo, the Japanese short staff, authors Don Ziegler and Tom Lang offer the Western student something rare, a clear and grounded doorway into a tradition that is at once ancient and urgently alive. Let us walk that doorway together. The jo does not emerge from nowhere. Like all things of lasting worth in Japanese culture, it carries within it the weight of centuries. It is said that the classical tradition of Jojutsu was codified in the early 17th century, in an era when Miyamoto Musashi himself walked the roads of Japan, seeking the essence of strategy. Musashi wrote in his Book of 5 Rings, "Do nothing that is of no use." The jo embodies this principle absolutely. Every line of its form, every nuance of its grip carries purpose. Rooted in the broader world of Bujutsu, the martial arts of the samurai, the jo found its highest refinement in Jodo, the way of the stick, and was later absorbed into the flowing philosophy of Aikido. In both traditions, the jo is not merely a weapon of war. It is a mirror in which the practitioner may come to see themselves with clarity. For the samurai, the weapon was never separate from the warrior. As Suzuki observed of Zen and the martial arts, the sword and the swordsman become one. So it is with the jo and those who study its way. What is the jo at its deepest level? It is a question that cannot be answered by measurement alone. Suzuki wrote that Zen is not a system of philosophy, it is a way of seeing. And so too the jo is not a system of techniques, it is a way of moving, of attending, of being present to the moment with one's whole body and undivided mind. In the Zen tradition, the concept of mushin, no mind, points to a state in which action arises without the interference of calculation or fear. The jo, practiced with sincerity over years, becomes a vehicle for this experience. The staff is raised not because one has decided to raise it, but because the situation demands it and the trained body responds. Musashi understood this. He wrote, "You must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. The jo offers one such path, direct, physical, demanding complete honesty from the practitioner. This is what separates the martial arts of Japan from mere fighting. They are, at their best, paths of self-cultivation, what the Japanese call do, the way. Before one may speak of philosophy, the body must learn its alphabet." Ziegler and Lang are careful guides here. They begin, as all good teachers do, with the hands. The grip of the jo is neither tight nor slack. It is alive, responsive, what a Japanese instructor might call a living hand. From this living grip arise the fundamental stances, the haso no kamae, the chudan no kamae, postures that align the practitioner with the weapon and the weapon with the world. Strikes, thrusts, and sweeps follow in a natural progression. Each movement has its precise form, its angle, its timing, and yet, as with the brushstroke of the calligrapher, technique alone is never enough. Suzuki reminds us that in the beginning is the form, but the form must ultimately be transcended. The practitioner must arrive at a place where the jo moves through them, not merely by them. This is the paradox at the heart of all martial learning. One must master the form in order to forget it. The kata, the formal sequences of the jo, are practiced alone and with a partner. In solo practice, the student learns to meet an imaginary opponent with full intention. In partner practice, something more subtle emerges. To practice with another person is to enter into a relationship of profound trust. One strikes, the other receives. One extends, the other yields. The exchange mirrors the deeper rhythms of human encounter, the push and pull of conversation, of conflict, of harmony. Ziegler and Lang structure their drills with care, moving the student from simple exchanges to complex sequences that require presence, sensitivity, and what Suzuki might call the readiness of the warrior poet. For in Japan, the finest swordsmen were often also poets. The brush and the blade were not opposites. They were two faces of the same attention. Through solo and partner practice, the student of the Jo discovers not only how to move, but how to be moved, how to respond to the world with clarity and without excess. Among the classical weapons of Japan, the katana, the naginata, the bow, the Jo occupies a singular position. It is humble in appearance, yet formidable in application. In self-defense, the Jo's length grants the practitioner a reach advantage over shorter weapons and even certain armed opponents. Its ability to strike, block, sweep, and restrain makes it unusually versatile. Unlike the sword, which requires years of training before it can be safely drawn, the Jo is accessible. A student may begin to apply its principles meaningfully within months of dedicated practice. Musashi, who famously defeated the swordmaster Sasaki Kojiro using a wooden sword carved from an oar, understood the power of the unadorned weapon. The Jo shares this spirit. It does not require ornamentation to be effective. Its power lies in the practitioner's understanding, not in the object itself. And yet the Jo is not merely a weapon of last resort. As Ziegler and Lang demonstrate, its techniques reveal a sophisticated martial philosophy, one that prizes control over destruction and presence over aggression. We return at last to stillness. The Jo is set down. The breath returns. The practitioner stands as they stood at the beginning, and yet not quite as they stood. Something has shifted. This is the measure of true practice, not the accumulation of techniques, but the quiet transformation of the one who practices. D.T. Suzuki wrote, "The truth of Zen is the truth of life, and life means to live, to move, to act. The Jo teaches us to move with intention, to act from the center, to live without the armor of hesitation." For Western readers coming to this tradition for the first time, Jo, the Japanese Short Staff by Don Ziegler and Tom Lang, is an invaluable companion. Clear in its instruction, respectful of its source, it opens a door that has long been difficult to find. Step through that door, take up the staff, begin. The Jo is waiting.